Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Have you ever wondered what is possible beyond possible? What is the thing you've been wondering and inquiring about? Are you just feeling stuck and don't know why? Are you thinking or are you seeing? Seeing allows us to expand and have this other experience. We want to invite you for that wake-up call. We want to invite your spirit, your soul, so to be more alive, more connected. Glenn Brooks has been a life coach for over 33 years, author of Divorced to Patterns, Not Each Other, an explorer of what is possible. He has worked with people all around the world. Join us for a wake-up conversation, a dialogue with you. We will have some of the most interesting contributors. We will be talking to some of the most interesting people and have some of the most resourceful teachers, wisdom-filled people from around the world join us. Share your voice, ask the questions, become free of the known into a new world of possibility. We are going to talk about all the things you wonder about: how to live, how to heal, how to connect, how to love, how to be seen. Your life is precious. Enjoy it.
All the things you wonder about. Welcome to the Vibrant Living Radio Network. I'm Glenn Brooks, and along with Kai Cole, my co-genius, Kai Cole. Kai, how are you?
I like that title.
Yeah, well, it gives you a lot of opportunity to, be brilliant, be mobile. I wanted to share a story. I did a session this morning with a scientist, and it was such a moving session. I just thought I'd share it because we're going to have Maureen Cary on from National Awakenings, and Bonberg, who breaks all the rules to have us go to a new level of connections in New York, New Jersey. He's moving to Great Neck soon, and he's doing a lot of undercover work for the Vibrant Living Network. So I did this session this morning, and I realized that, Kai, that people have a lot of ideas about speaking and expression, and I was so moved by the session, I thought I would share what I learned in the session. So this is a scientist. She's a research scientist, and she was telling me she lived her whole life. Because I asked her, I said, well, what are you interested? Like, what would you like to see happen in terms of what happened in your life? And she explained that she learned early on as a scientist that she learned to take her thinking very seriously and to make plans. So she told me she was 12 years out from making plans. And so she said she had these plans, but she felt very disconnected. And she told me she was very scared. Actually, she told me she was very scared to be in the ocean. She said the ocean always scared her because she didn't know what was there. And but she told me we were talking about flow. So we were talking about what is it that allows us to see something beyond that, to see beyond what we think about. And so she told me she'd walk in the woods and she'd do the opposite of what she was told to do, what she was supposed to do in terms of keeping a plan and keeping goals. Oh, I didn't share this with you, but for years I was always curious how people would go kind of beyond their goals. I was always curious about how people would develop, or I guess wake up to something very different than they were conditioned by. And so she told me 2 years ago she had this insight. And so I want to describe vibrant speaking for a moment here. So vibrant speaking is a way of speaking from the movement of your body and your imagination and transferring it to other people. So there's transfer. And just like when you were a kid, when you were sitting there and the teacher might say, they might ask you a question and it transfers and you want to raise, you don't even raise your hand, it just feels through your body. It's kind of being in that place. So she told me that she was at the ocean last year. She was in the French Caribbean or something. And she said that she had this awareness that there's room for the sharks in the ocean. There's room for sharks and there's room for me or her. And she said she began to live her life differently. She said she started to wonder. She started to wonder what it was to be a human being. She realized she hadn't met many human beings. She knew what a dog was. She knew what a cat was, a rat was. but she realized she didn't really know what a human being was. And so she started to kind of wonder. And it was through wondering and kind of movement that she came up with, we worked together on how she could give her talks. So what we tend to do is we work hard, we plan, we have goals. So I was just kind of working with her, exploring with her, not really working, kind of exploring with her this other state or this other sensing. This other sensing when we're really moved and we have a moving message. And so that insight she had about being in the ocean, there's room for the sharks and there's room for me, that actually changed her life, that one insight. Because she started to actually use her body differently. I'm excited. I'm very inspired to speak. We're going to, me and Kai are going to talk at Harvard at this big conference on the brain, cognition, and movement. And so I was just this morning, Kai, and I want to welcome Maureen Cary, the publisher of the Natural Awakening magazine, and it seems like at some point in time we worked at the bank together, even though we didn't. That's how familiar and family-like you feel to me, Maureen.
It does feel like.
The feeling
yes, I have the same sense.
And of course, Bonberg's here. He's. Another thing I wanted to say, for those of you that are interested, we're putting a summit together, a Vibrant Living Summit in Rhode Island with Maureen Cary. And I spoke to Maureen, it seems like years and years ago, but we actually spoke fairly recently. And I said, hey, Maureen, I'd like to do this thing with you. We do an infinite collaboration, which means we go beyond barter, we go beyond exchanging, we go beyond trading, and we just allow another whole level of good things to come out of this. And Maureen said yes, and I just felt kind of blessed actually that day. I kind of felt like I had a family member. I like having new family members. I like being around other human beings. I like playing with ideas like the relational brain. Kai, welcome back from Rome. Share with us what touched you in Rome, what's moving you. I just want to welcome you back because that was your trip with your grandmother sounded so wonderful. And what happened? We wanted to share with the audience a little bit about. I missed you last week. What was your experience like in Rome?
It was beautiful. There was just so much organic and natural beauty surrounding us that it totally transformed our way of thinking and being. My grandma she was feeling, not so well in her body. And by the time that we made it to the night of my cousin's wedding, she was in the middle of the dance floor. And I was just so excited to see her just feeling well, even for just a moment. But the whole trip was simply amazing, and there was a lot of magic towards the end. I had 3 hours in the city of Rome. The rest of the time we were outside of the city in a small village called Castel di Eri. But when I had those 3 hours in Rome, I said, I'm going to see the Colosseum and Trevi Fountain. And lo and behold, it took me an hour to get there. I had no idea how I was going to get back, but I made it.
Wow. I was inspired by your trip. I was inspired by your...
Thanks for checking
the last.
out
I didn't know. Are you going to post photos for people to see?
Yeah, I'll send some more.
Okay, all right. Let people know they can see your photos.
Yeah, I'm going to put them up on Facebook.com/Vibrant Living Network.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. Since I spoke to Bonberg, so last week, Maureen and Kai, I had a meeting with Bonberg about vibrant matchmaking. And we got really deep. We got really into, and Maureen, you picked right up on this. We got into what's beyond chemistry, what's beyond, I guess, more superficial things. The things, this one woman yesterday said to me, the cheesy things. I don't know, the things that weren't so inspired or vibrant, And I felt your inspiration, Bonberg. I really felt you. I just felt we were another whole level. You know what I mean? I really felt that vibrant matchmaking is really about I really felt it deeply in my being. I was at the hotel and I was walking around, and some people come up to me and say, "What are you doing?" I'm always I didn't really, this whole thing about being a human being. It's really wonderful being around other human beings. Like there's this camaraderie, this certain, and I love putting environments together. So the environment we'll have in Rhode Island to explore these wondrous things like vibrant matchmaking, vibrant medicine, the Integrity and Real Food Award. We're going to have some chefs there. We're going to have a movement section. And, of course, we're going to do this whole thing on vibrant speaking. So I'm exploring this thing with Bonberg, and I'm going in really deep, and I'm really feeling it. And I'm feeling like we're into this, like, one mind thing. I kind of feel like Ariel says something, and I see it, and I feel it. And he says, wow, this sort of, matchmaking could eradicate a lot of the, divorce, division that people get into. And I said, yeah, because it's not just one match. You're ongoingly matching this vibrancy. You're ongoingly going from the counterfeit, and you're kind of moving as a team. So, by the way, I didn't tell you this. So right after I had that conversation, okay, there's two things that happened were pretty profound. So one was me and Ariel got disconnected, and this woman is on the phone, this woman named Janet, who had read my letter. I wrote a letter, and I teach people to write letters that the deepest sensation of their match is in the letter. So I call that a love invocation. I call it a vibrant signal. Could be a vibrant sensation. And so this woman's there, and she says to me, she said it's so good. She goes, when I read that letter, she goes, I felt in my soul and being you wrote me that letter. And I want to say that it's been so opening and profound. And I guess life is like that. Life is kind of like we get displaced, right? We get displaced, we get distracted. And then we compensate by working hard, sometimes having more goals. And yet there's this beautiful simplicity, right? And I saw Ariel, I want to say that was a really, I love that. I love when you can kind of get into this, this wonderful flow and, feel that deeper energy here, kind of experience it. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. So I really appreciated that a lot, and it's going to life change.
That conversation.
Yeah, no, I felt it. I wanted to say to everybody, hey, we got a conversation. Everybody should be tuning into it like right now. It was almost like that. I wanted to, how did I learn? Kind of how I learned vibrant speaking, really, which is really the ability to move your body and use your imagination. But I remember one day as an example, I was having a really intense panic attack. I was really feeling, I felt like I was going to die. It was really, it was something I was going through a transition in my life, and I went into this group. I didn't know anybody in this group. There was like a healing group, and it was going on fairly close to where I was, and I sort of knew the leader a little bit, and she just said, well, Glenn, just say something to the circle. And I've done this sort of thing many times, so I didn't think I was dying many times. I just spoke from that sensation. I just told the people, I said, well, I feel really like I don't know if I'm going to be here. It was that sense. And they listened so deeply. I felt like they cradled me in their listening. And then different people spoke around the room, and I realized after a while the sensation of feeling so apart from life and displaced became I was now in the room with them, listening to them. It was almost like this going from one sensation to another sensation. And I realized I never learned that. I never learned speaking from that place. Speaking was always this thing that you had to, for me, it was always a thing I had to do in school. I had to get up and read. No one ever told me, hey, find that rhythm in your breath and let that, communicate that with others. And so one of my principles is going beyond competing. So, so I just want to say we're finding a place in Rhode Island. I see this sometime in September. We're going to put a beautiful I guess, a description of the kind of speakers we're looking for, and a vision, a very specific vision of the event, and have an ongoing relationship with Rhode Island, Maureen. So we get to hang out with you and say something about, for the new people today. You started Natural Awakenings in Rhode Island 10 years ago, and you had a career change. When you describe it, it has such a nice flow to it. You were in banking. I want to say we were in banking. You were in banking. And then what happened, because you kind of made this wonderful transition that was kind of different. You know what they say in life, that most people have just one act and they have the second act, and that's usually very much like the first act, but you had a third wave or a third vibrancy, you could call it. What happened?
I had gotten frustrated. I knew it was not the right place. It was like walking around in the wrong shoes. I knew that I was not destined to be a banker, that was not ultimately going to be my path. I wasn't going to be doing that for the rest of my days, and that I needed to open my eyes and see what else there was to do in the world. And that's pretty much, I just kept my eyes open, and I found the magazine. And it was like the skies opened and the heavens sang, like, oh.
Was it really like that? It was that moving for you.
It was pretty close to that. Yes, absolutely. I mean, it was just, I just fell in love with the magazine. I absolutely just loved everything. I loved the messaging. I loved the layout. I loved the format. Everything just spoke to me. The content is just phenomenal. It was all areas of which I was interested in, and like not too much of anything. So it was, you could bounce around, so you could learn about how to take care of your family. You could learn how to take care of your own personal growth. You could learn how to take care of your pets. It all in more natural, awakened kinds of ways.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so.
Yeah.
The first time I came across the magazine, we were on Florida. And I think Sarasota, we met Randy. It was probably like 15 years ago. So I appreciate it. You know, I met some of the other publishers. I think it's a wonderful, and your particular story and who you are. Also, I got introduced to Rhode Island, and I was going to Gloucester. I was going to Gloucester and Rockport. And we had one place we'd go to in Rockport that we used to go to every year. But I never realized how warm the water was in Rhode Island. That really turned me around, I will tell you. And then we got your warm, good energy. Bomberg's with us today. Guy Cole. Stay with us for more vibrant living in a moment.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
In the wake of a disaster, what one thing can you send that will help people the most? A blanket, a tent, a sandbag, a doctor. Actually, if you send a monetary donation, you send all these things. Even a small donation can make a big impact and can quickly become exactly what people affected by disaster need most.
In the wake of a hurricane, your monetary donation can make a huge difference to those in need. To donate, visit supporthurricanerelief.org. That's supporthurricanerelief.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome to Vibrant Living. What your parents maybe never said to you, what your friends never, thought to ask about. What is vibrant living? Kai, what's vibrant living? What's moving you to about vibrant living? What's speaking to you?
Well, let's first start off with the definition that you gave for the rhythmic vital sensations or pulsations. One or the other.
I'm having a little trouble hearing your voice, Kai.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I was saying, let's start off with your...
Oh, beautiful.
There we go. Let's start off with your words about the rhythmic vital pulsations or sensations.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying how that can be equivocated to laughter. To me,
yeah, I love that.
Vibrancy means an abundance of joy in your life. And it can be through, just simply releasing the blockages of our creativity and inspiration and happiness. So once we get to that place, I feel like anything is possible, including reaching other souls.
Yeah. I had two women, one from Pittsburgh, Lisa LaRose, and Ann, I'm forgetting Ann's name, but they flew in. Lisa flew in from Pittsburgh, and then Ann flew in from Los Angeles, and they asked me what they needed, because they became vibrant hosts with me in California. And I said, all you need, I want you to bring these big open journals, relational vision journals, vibrant vision journals. And I said, just bring hula hoops. So we hula hooped, and we walked, and Lisa came up with the name for her work network, which is called One Wisdom. And so, one of the things that's so beautiful of the vital rhythmic pulsations, what you call laughter, Kai, is that it's always there. That when people drop into it, they start to, it's like it's very accessible. It's kind of like when people get the sensation and they have it together, it's like being in a room. Imagine being in a room where it's beyond competition. And I had that experience with Ariel really strong last week, where you tap into that universal mind together, and you feel it in the movement and the breath. You start to get into that sense, and people start to catch it from each other. And so, as an example, I taught a course in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, on how to create your own format. How to create your own TV show, your radio show, and people were very protective in the beginning of the day. They didn't want to let their ideas out. But by midday, we had people doing infinite collaboration together and starting to meet from this place. We're coming together and have another whole level of prosperity. And so the hula hoops, by the way, so everything I ponder on has to do with the infinity. So that infinity is how your cells spin. And so when I first discovered to do the hula hoop, it was life-changing for me. I never thought I could hula hoop. But the day that the hula hoop came around me from my left side, and I started doing it on my right side, it just had to be one of the greatest things in my life. The other one was reading Mark Twain's comment that true success was turning one's vocation into one's vacation, because it made such deep sense to me. So my vision for Rhode Island, Kai and Ariel and Maureen, is to do our Vibrant Living Summit, to have a team of hosts that are also vibrant travelers, that are also part of our vibrant speakers, and that we have a new home. And really starting with Maureen and the wonderful work she's doing with Natural Awakenings, and that kind of happened in my life. I don't know, probably 10, 12 years ago. I started just going to Rhode Island. Part of what it was, everybody's going to the Cape, and I never liked the idea of sitting hours in traffic on the Cape. Somehow one way in and one way out was my greatest inspiration. And there's beautiful stuff in the Cape, but I felt like, well, Rhode Island was kind of a discovery. Were you born and raised in Rhode Island, Maureen? Maureen?
Oh,
all right, I'll ask Kai. Oh, that's all right. I was going to ask Kai if she was born and raised in Rhode Island. I wasn't going to give up on that question.
No, nope, I wasn't.
That.
Very, very close by.
Where'd you grow up?
I always felt drawn to it.
Hey, you know what you said? I wanted to acknowledge something you said that I ponder on, Maureen. So a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about family mantras, the thing that you heard in your household. And I think you said in your household, they said never say shut up, or don't say shut up to someone. You said that. Remember this? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually kind of went deeper with it, and I realized that it was sort of profound. Like when you said it, I realized that sometimes people don't directly tell us to shut up, but what they do is they don't embrace they don't embrace us. They don't give us a resonant yes, let's say. So I was appreciating about not shutting up as a way to invite someone in, kind of nudge them with and I've noticed that certain people say yes to you before they say anything. Because certain human beings just do that. And so kind of at a Vibrant Living Summit, I really ask people to appreciate what's in the room, like the human beings in the room, like just to kind of go with that sense, like who's in the room right now, who do you feel drawn to? And that's how we actually get our Vibrant Vision partners, because at every summit we have people, pick 2 or 3 people that can cover their back. And I say to people, I say, this is kind of like this is the old tango. How you meet your partner in tango is through a gaze, right? You don't pick someone, you don't ask someone, you just gaze and they're there. And I thought that's how I want to open this summit. And that's going to be the next film I'm going to work on is going to be all about, it's all about what happens if people go from the base of the mountain to the mountaintop together. And so that's kind of the theme of the Rhode Island Summit, is to really, what happens when you have this experience in your brain, nervous system, that people are covering you. And the other thing I'm going to get into at the summit, what I'm kind of excited about, is this whole idea of lateral thinking. I just discovered I was a lateral thinker, and then all of a sudden there was all these. Have you ever heard of lateral thinking, Maureen?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is it that what is it that you see it as?
Well, good question. I'm exploring it with you and Kai and Bomberg here today. All right. So I joke about this in many ways. I guess how I see it, and maybe we'll go to this simple analogy, because at a certain point I realized life was really about be, have, do. It wasn't about do, have, be. It was kind of like a different, that once you were in your being, so when I first started to coach, apparently 33 years ago, according to the intro, I focused on this thing in a human being called their beingness, because I kind of felt that was the source of that was the thing that made human beings sort of distinct, delicious, and striking. And so I saw that from the beginning. I would see where they could go from the state of beingness. Now, I started to hear about this from other people, like Jim Worsley, who started 5-element acupuncture. He would say it doesn't take anything to see someone's ill. And when he would make rounds, he'd open the door and he would look in the door, and instead of saying someone's condition, like, oh, they have, overheated fire or some other, Asian way of saying it, he would say some other diagnostic way. He would say, oh, that person can play the fiddle and they haven't yet. So lateral thinking to me is the ability to see something going beyond our presupposition or assumption of the linearness. In other words, you saw the whole thing. You saw the whole health and the wonder of the thing, like right then and there. And so I brought a lateral approach to coaching, and I also brought an approach that was beyond goal setting. So that was and so now what's interesting is I just contacted, there's a new book it's on dream teams. And the whole book is about lateral thinking and how teams don't need to fall apart. And this is what I call the Vibrant Living Challenge, where people come together and they all share how they want to move their vibrant vision forward together. So I see that lateral thinking in a group. And by the way, Bernie Siegel, the oncologist who wrote Love, Medicine, Miracles, to me that whole book was about lateral thinking. And the thing that was interesting about when I met Bernie 28 years ago, and again, lateral thinking was, he wouldn't work with anybody as a surgeon unless they drew a picture. And he could tell from the picture where they were out in terms of healing. So he showed, when I was with him a couple of years ago, he showed 100 slides. And the people that have the most profound healings, their cancers dissolved or seemed to go, they had profound healings. When you looked at their drawings, they were lateral. Like, you could see, like this one woman, she felt totally connected to the divine. You could see in the room that she has this connection. In the drawing, her feet are whole, her body's together. And you see in other people, when they draw their drawing, sometimes the arm could be floating to the side. There's this sense that they're displaced. So the vital rhythmic pulsation, that oneness that we, that hookup, it's not there. And so the first time I did anything around coaching, I spent 7 days with a psychiatrist to put this course together on mastery. And one of his big things is that, that presupposition sort of, so an assumption, as an example, if someone has an illness and it takes a certain amount of time, so that would be a linear way to look at it. So lateral way would be okay, what's the highest expression, and then how do I speak to that human being and cultivate that? It's kind of like I met this lawyer. He couldn't stand being a lawyer, but he liked being a comedian, and then his depression went away because he didn't feel displaced. So lateral thinking is the ability to see many paths, and for me at a coaching level, it's being able to speak to that part of them, that really alive sensation in them that they want to be more joined with and expressed, that other people probably told them, I don't know, linear, again, getting back to the linear, might be like, they're always, I think from linear, we're kind of looking at things that aren't the most juicy, alive parts of the person, and it's more, it could be a banker's mind. In the entrepreneur world, they say that, it's hard to speak to a banker from an entrepreneurial perspective. So I have a sense that some entrepreneurs are probably more lateral. And then you could say I also think for some people there's a divine spark, because then there's also a kind of a leap in the lateral. You kind of feel like, I don't know, I'm very prone to take what some people would say that it's risky, like going up to people. I love going up to people and engaging them. We're gonna feature some people on YouTube that do these social experiment shows where they have over 1 million viewers. And part of what is just kind of, I guess the lateral, you can tell I'm kind of excited about this topic. It's just kind of a way that we see things and implement things that's beyond the appearance, let's say. How'd I do, Kai? That was my first dive into it.
That was great. Great execution, Glenn.
Thank you, Kai. It really means a lot to me. When you send me a text and you say that was great, I realize, God, I love that feedback loop so much. I really, So how is that, Maureen? So I think in your life, my sense is you had a lateral shift, and you saw something beyond the appearance that you were in, and you went to move in the direction of that. Would you say that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I knew that where I was not where I was meant to be, and I looked for where was my place? Where was I meant to be?
Yeah.
And then and it just called to me. I said, okay, I want to go there. I want
right. That. Yeah. Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's like, isn't it funny where everybody's the idea that we could be childlike and not be like an adult that's always growing younger. Ashley Montague, the anthropologist from Princeton, wrote a book when he was 85 called Growing Young. And he wrote this other book on touch. And he was one of my early influences. Because I thought, touch is the most profound thing, but no one it seems rare. And he also said that love heals broken bones, which totally, I guess I must have had a lateral. When I heard that, I was like, wow, there's another level of this game that I had never heard before. And then I met a lateral teacher. I met a mystical teacher. And it finally, over like 29 years, I realized why people couldn't understand him, because he was so speaking from this other place. Like as an example, he would talk about feeling it real. And he would regularly do that in his life. Like, for instance, he would talk about going back to Barbados, and he would feel it real. He'd go to sleep as if he was in Barbados, and next thing you know, there was a waiting list of hundreds of people, and someone would pick him, and he always he talked about this way of life, living in marriage. So if you wanted something, you just married it in your imagination. And he shared about this, and I could just see it's so different than the linear. So I was kind of appreciating, and this is what we're going to get into at the Vibrant Living Summit and the challenge, is to really to play with this, so that you could begin to wake up this other part of your intuition, your relational intuition, your inner radar. So we haven't talked to Nicole Kane in a while, but Nicole's a homeopath out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and also Scottsdale, Arizona. So the first time I saw her as my homeopath, I looked at her. I said, Nicole, I realized you're not even my homeopath. We're supposed to be family, and we're supposed to do something together. And that's how we designed our upcoming new show on Vibrant Intimacy. It was just like that. I just saw her. So what I also practice a lot is just seeing what's there. And then I also love just saying it to people, like just with no linear background. And some people are so receptive, and it's so much fun. And I love those days. Like, so what's your vision for the Vibrant Living Summit, Maureen? What would you like to see happen? I'm just curious what sparks you about this wonderful experience coming to Rhode Island, and then us. What's your vision? What's moving you about us being there? All of us.
I think it's just going to be wonderful to experience, to have the opportunity to have a whole new group of people in our circle in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
I think it's good to mix it up.
Yeah, no, it's Kai. What's moving you? What's your vibrant vision that's moving you around this? Our vibrant living summit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of these things that we're speaking about in action. There are wonderful, wonderful anecdotes that you've given us, and concepts that we can explore on our own. But to be able to be in the audience or to be on stage and actually see the magic while it's happening is something that I am really, really looking forward to. That, and also the meeting of our minds. I'm so happy to see what we're going to co-create.
All right, we're going to take one of these pauses. I love that, Kai. Let's dive into that when we come back. Let's talk about the experience. Stay with us. Your life's precious. Enjoy it. Thanks for listening to Vibrant Living today.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Listening to Vibrant Living. Vibrant Living Network. I'm Glenn Brooks, along with Kai Cole. Kai's not just an architect of physical structure. She's very insightful about what allows people to design and implement tribe, or the experience of group, the experience of coming together for a bigger purpose. Maureen Cary's with us from Natural Awakenings magazine. It's such an honor. We're doing our ongoing infinite collaboration. Bonberg, who does all kinds of secret missions, including being a homeopath, which is a powerful mission, discovering someone's frequency and giving them a remedy, giving them almost an invisible remedy, that is energy, developed by Dr. Hahnemann, who was a pharmacist and a medical doctor. He came up with the idea that less is more, and that the body has a brilliant vital system. And when you treat the vital system and you uncumber it, you get rid of the obstructions, this thing comes forward called health. And I can tell you that over the last 30 years, I'm doing a series called The Healing Power of Homeopathy. I've met people. There was one guy in Syracuse. His doctor told him he was going to be wheelchair bound within like 3 months, and he was. The doctor had the same condition. The doctor was heading to a wheelchair. And he just thought his life was over. And somehow someone nudged him enough to go to Canada, to go to Montreal and get his, what they call case taking, which is listening at this very deep level, and which is kind of how I do coaching. It's interesting. So anyway, he goes to get his case taking, he get his case done. And when you're listening really deeply to someone, there's the human being and there's other things there. You start to realize, what is this other thing there? And that poison, if you will. Well, the poison is the gateway to healing. And you give them this minute dose. Anyway, he got his dose. And literally, he got rid of his wheelchair. He wrote a book called Walking. It was called, God, what's the name of that book? He's a plumber. He's such a wonderful man. I think it's called Walking on Broken Glass. And so being around, Kai, when you mention that, it's the experience. It's kind of like the experience is that we could catch this. This is a, if you will, this is I like to call it a caught teaching, not a taught teaching. Because when you're around people unfold, and we start to live from this sense of vital force together, it has its own level of movement. So yeah, to see people stand up and be on the stage who never would dream of being on the stage. At our last event, we had people dancing on the stage. There was, at one point, everybody just got up and danced on the stage with Bernie Siegel. And the idea, I kept saying to people, who wants to get up and just be on the stage for a moment? Just tell us what's moving you. And everybody got up and danced. And that's the wonder of life, that sometimes these when we get unblocked and we're around other people, you know, I said the thing that Deepak Chopra used to say to me, I'm going to say it a different way, but he used to say that we grow old and die because we see other people grow old and die. It's hypnosis. But at the same time, we see other people own and express, and we actually see them beyond looking at them. Because you look at people and you form you form a certain image. But when you see someone beyond the image they see, that they can even, when you see someone as they could be, and they receive it, that's like a blessing. That's like an opening for them to see it as well. So in my book, Unscripted Power, I talk about, like, unscripted love is the ability to see someone beyond their scripts. So it's when you pass by someone, one of my teachers used to say to me, never see someone begging. Always see someone opening up to a new life. So the way we see, and our ability to see, is another big experience of the Vibrant Living Summit, because seeing, and physical seeing too. I'm a big fan of Jacob Lieberman's work on seeing. One of his books, I think, is called Take Your Glasses Off and See. He had a radical healing. And what's kind of interesting about his radical healing of his eyes as an eye doctor had a lot to do with it wasn't his physical eyes. So I love when people come and they inquire, and then they want to not just give a vibrant talk, but they want to discover how to inquire and move this way. And you actually see people move differently. You get a sense of, you know, their bodies change. So vibrant speaking is about having your body change and being an instrument for this movement, an instrument so you could give the kind of talks that you feel wonder and delighted by. And I also work with couples that way as well, because I love seeing couples kind of unfold into that. We're also going to have a lot of chefs there. I love the idea of amazing food. So Bonberg, let's share something, because you know everybody loves your name so much. Just saying it, everybody's really just gets inspired. So what's moving you about the our conference, our Vibrant Living Summit in Rhode Island? What's moving you about it?
You know, you mentioned before about the idea and the concept of homeopathy, how it reaches, how the way that it works in healing and in rebalancing others is through hitting that center core of their vibrancy, of their vital force, which, in turn creates a ripple effect on all different levels. And I think, what I'm looking forward at the conference, at the summit, is to really try to have that effect on everybody there, to really bring out, everyone's vibrancy and to give them their unscripted power, their unscripted power, and really, tapping that potential that everybody wants to reach. And I feel like if there's that energy in the room, and it's promoted and it's embedded more and more and more, I feel like it's going to be wonderful to see. And I'm just excited and just looking forward to being there with everybody.
And we're going to start featuring some of the speakers that are coming to the Vibrant Living Summit in Rhode Island. We're going to have hosts on from Rhode Island. So this is our marriage with Rhode Island. It started from a marriage. So the miracle begins when two people agree. Just two people. It just takes you and. So yeah, I love what you just said, Ariel. I love what you just said. There's something in the words and between the words that was very inspiring. God. By the way, it's delightful catching up with you again this week, Maureen. I want to say I feel you. To sound funny to say it, but I will. I really do feel this pulsation of connection with you, and it means a lot to me that you're going to be part of this and that you're there. And besides Paula, who does a lot of, I guess, puts conferences and helps with space. She said, quote unquote, she said Maureen knows everyone in Rhode Island. Is that true? Do you know everybody in Rhode Island, Maureen?
Oh,
all right, I'll just try the same question.
No, that's okay. You unmute again. Talking away. What do you mean you don't hear me? No, so I know a lot of people in the last 10 years. I've certainly met just all kinds of wonderful, wonderful people. I know the good ones.
What's something that's happened? Because basically, you run a meaningful media. You have a meaningful media format that gives people all kinds of wonderful kind of resources. It's in the community. Is there a story you want to share with us that you feel exemplifies, where you live from and what your vision is in the publication? Anything come to you, a story you want to share with us?
Nothing's coming up right now. It is the kind of thing in Rhode Island where everybody knows each other. So it's typically you can meet somebody, and if you talk for a couple of minutes, you can trace back, did you have somebody comment? What is it, that like 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon or something like that, right? Isn't there a thing like being it, that we're all connected? We're all connected, and that is absolutely the case in Rhode Island, that we are definitely. There are a lot of connections.
Yeah, I love it. I want to say hello to Johnny. If Johnny's listening today from the parking lot in Watch Hill. When I first went there, Johnny treated me so well. Like I want to say a lot of times.
I wish I knew this story about Johnny, or else I would continue with it. Oh my goodness.
Maureen, I'll hear about Johnny another time.
Right. I did hear that it's 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon, so we're getting closer and closer. My goodness. Well, it would be great if we could continue talking about the summit. This is a really big opportunity to enter such a sparkling market like Rhode Island. Is there anything, Maureen, that you feel that the region would be able to offer, as a host that's very different from everywhere else, like, perhaps New York? I'm really interested in the charm that we're going to be able to experience by being there with you.
It is. It's such a diverse state because it's as small as it is. there are parts of it where people just don't leave, like Aquidneck Island, which is where Newport is. That's almost like its own little separate. People talk about not leaving the island. They get into and it's not a whole lot of reasons why you need to, and it's beautiful, so people don't, and they won't. It's just a Rhode Island thing that people don't travel. So as small as the state is, if you've got to drive for more than 20 minutes.
Thanks very much, Chris.
People aren't doing it.
It sounds like the town in Italy that I was in. Everybody was there for the wedding, and nobody really leaves.
Actually, it's funny you guys say that. I actually grew up going to Rhode Island all the time when I was younger.
Huh. Perfect.
I actually had family there. It's a beautiful, really beautiful, peaceful, state and area, especially Providence. It's very relaxing. I actually really liked Rhode Island a lot.
I love that you can go to Providence and you don't, even though it is the capital city, it doesn't have that same intensity that if you went to even Boston, that, it's crazy and you wouldn't want to drive through it or anything.
Yeah.
It's much more accessible.
Yeah, I love that too, by the way.
Story.
Oh, God. You mean what I said about... Well, I do have a story, actually. I hope I was knowing. I have a chapter in my book. It's called Beyond Knowing, which is really about how to access what I call relational intuition. But the story, I think that... I'll tell you the story. It seems it's right on the pipeline here. So I was very close for a while with Dr. Jerry Jampolsky. And Jerry had written this incredible book back in 25 years ago called Love is Letting Go of Fear. Love is Letting Go of Fear. And he was a psychiatrist. And he talked about that one of his big lessons of his life. He had back pain for 30 years. And he realized that the back pain, was kind of where he held on. And he had this release. The back pain went away. And he was giving talks around the country. And he said one night this guy came to his house. I guess it was maybe 21 years old. And he came to his house like 3 a.m. So Jerry talked about, and this is a real significant part of vibrant speaking, is to be able to drop beyond the surface of knowing into something deeper, to drop into recognition. So when you're with an audience and you recognize an audience, it's almost like there's a message for that audience that you'll be able to speak to them if you drop deeper. But in this story, Jerry, when he came out and saw this guy, he knocked on his door like 3 a.m. Jerry said he just really stunk. He smelled really bad. But then he realized when he dropped in deeper, and we do a lot of this, and we work with vibrant speaking. We drop in deeper. We drop in together. He didn't smell anymore, and he realized that this guy came because he wanted to be accepted. He wanted this quality of acceptance, and he said in that moment there was a miracle that occurred. So I often say to people, it's not the knowing, that's the gripping from the mind. But when you drop deeper, there's a different sensation. And that's really, who we are as human beings is we could sense and do things from a place of being a human being that's very different than we're trying to get to know someone, right? So the trying sometimes to get to know gets a little in the way. So so Kai and Maureen and Ariel, that's one of the things that I love seeing occur, is kind of like what happens when people start to drop in together and go deeper. And I've had the honor this last week. I was part of my connection that occurred with Janet right after this. I had this wonderful connection with Ariel. So here's the thing: when I talk about connections, when you experience a deep connection and it drops into your life, it resonates that signal, if you will, and you could actually begin to transfer that to other human beings. When I used to have this image, I remember I would go out driving, and I'd have this sense that when I would see a lot of cars, it's this sense that it's like the sensation is we're in this deep connection together, and when we kind of live from that and breathe from that, it brings it out. So, when people come to me around vibrant speaking, they think it's almost like the scripted part of them thinks they need to do something and have a goal, and then when it goes to a different level, they see a vision. A lot of times they haven't seen this vision, since they were 10. Because sometimes we get so caught up. So that's my little story with Jerry. Was all about going, dropping a little deeper to see what's there. And another funny thing we had happen. He was supposed to be on 3 radio shows with me, and he missed 3 radio shows with me. And there was, there's a level where we could judge things. But he wrote me this letter. That was one of the most beautiful letters around that happening. He wrote me a letter that was, he was very humble. He just said he didn't know why this occurred, but he felt it was a blessing. And so part of what this is I think being able to let the unexpected or go beyond the knowing, to go beyond knowing to the seeing. And when you see people, there's a special gift in that. Especially if you aspire to be on the stage. And I'm so happy to be reconnecting with Kelly Newsom, who owns Deep Root. I think it's called Deep Root. It's a speakers bureau in New Jersey. So I want to thank Maureen. It's great having you on, and I deeply appreciate you. And give out your website. If you could say it. Yes, what's your website? It's Natural Awakenings, Rhode Island. Natural Awakenings, Rhode Island. Kai, it's great having you back. So good. Ariel, deeply appreciate you. Your life's precious. Enjoy it. Thanks for being on Vibrant Living today. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Glenn.